I had a business in the gift card industry, and from sending some in-mail messages on a LinkedIn Premium account, I had the president of the Gift Card Association in the US fly me out to one of his gift card conferences, and you start meeting customers and learning things at a tremendous rate when you can start asking for advice as opposed to a sale, and they'll tell you who the decision makers are. If you find the right person, they'll open up the door for you too. So that's just coming from someone who's been able to find jobs, clients, business partners, investors, strategic partners, all on LinkedIn. You've done a lot of things in the intersection of business development, operations, product development. Has LinkedIn been this beneficial for you? Is it something that can be used like today to figure out how to find your advisors and customers, or how do you look at LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, that's an interesting point. LinkedIn, I do use it. It's been interesting. It has provided some value. I've done, let's see, between 10 years ago and 5 years ago, I've done maybe 150 informational interviews with CEOs through LinkedIn. So that's been my primary use for it, where you connect with, some executive, somebody high up in a company that, is maybe a potential customer, is maybe a prospect for you, and basically just set up an informational interview. So you get to meet them, you get to have a chat with them, and in the vast majority of cases, those were quite valuable. A lot of those turned into consulting clients and things like that for me. So I've used it for that. I haven't necessarily used it in the way that you used it with the in-mails. I was aware that you had those, but I don't have too much personal experience with that. What I was going to say as the sort of key takeaway, and once again, this may be obvious to some people, but this may be news to others, is that if you want to get your customers fast, number one thing is that it's so much easier getting into a business from the inside as opposed to breaking into it from the outside. So if you're in the situation where you're wanting to start a startup and you're wanting to get your customers fast, a great way to do it, as with most things, is to rely on networking. So if you partner or you hire a person who's on the inside of that business that really has a lot of personal relationships with all the players in that industry, in the location that you're looking for, that's going to give you like a 6-month head start on being able to get, first of all, knowing who your customers might be. That's number one. They will save you all that process of discovery, which is costly and takes time and lengthy. Number two, they will instantly give you credibility, because when when your potential customer is now dealing with your company, they're dealing with someone that they know, that is somebody versed in that industry, that has been working there for a long time, and in most cases will have personal relationships with some of these prospects, right? So you immediately get a head start on the credibility side also. And then thirdly, if you're communicating your message to your potential customers, you're trying to get them to do business with you, they will have much more of an intuitive understanding of what to say, of what to communicate to best convince these prospects to do business with you. So it's like a sort of triple threat. And you get all of that by getting somebody into your camp who's an insider in the business. And I mean, this may apply much more to B2B type situations, business to business directly. It can work on the consumer side if you're trying to set up relationships with other people in the value chain, and this kind of stuff. But huge step forward. If you are thinking of doing a startup and you are not on the inside of the industry in which you're thinking of going, I highly recommend that you get somebody in your team, in your camp, that is on the inside. Okay? Even if you're sort of paying them in the very beginning to do it part-time. Okay? They don't necessarily have to quit their day job. if they're willing to work on the side, do a side hustle with you, and then if the thing takes off, the understanding is they would jump aboard full time. That can be one way to sort of reduce the risk of the startup venture, and all the while not breaking the bank. And it will give you and this person will also be able to tell you the things that you're going to have to do to be able to sell to these customers, to have a compelling product. So that would be my first big takeaway for me, is to get an insider on your team. That's going to shortcut the whole process for you in many different ways.
Agreed. I think that people naturally want to help. So, not everyone will do it, but if you're trying to do something and you're trying to do it from the heart, and you put yourself out there to a handful of people, someone's going to want to help you. It's a little bit different when you ask for money, but when you're asking for advice, it is often free, and it is often available from people you would never expect. So I completely agree with what you're saying, Bill. I also think that if we're going to break down why somebody would, if you send a cold email to someone you don't know and you're trying to drum up business, I think they're going to respond to you from basically one of four different reasons. They're either going to respond to you because of who you are, who you know. I write this stuff down, by the way. That's why I'm looking here. I'm a digital note taker.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
It's either who you are, who you know, what you have, or what you're offering. So who you are, it could be the fact that you're a student just graduating from university. Play the student card, you'll get basically any meeting you want. It's amazing. I'm turning 30 years old this year, and I still use the recent student card every blue moon. So who you are could also be your credentials. Who you know is a little bit more, hey, I know Bill Todd. Bill Todd can make an intro, and he's got the key to the city. So sometimes it works as simple like that because one of your mentors, advisors has an in. And again, that's another reason to reach out to these people on networks like LinkedIn or at in-person networking events, is who you know matters. What you have is like the product. If you have a good product, you're going to get people's attention better. If you have that bright, shiny thing, if you have something people believe solves problems, if you have something that's unique and meaningful and people see that, you'll get meetings. And then lastly, it's what you're offering them. So if you have a product in a traditional industry and it's not highly differentiated, and you don't have all the personal credentials yet, and you don't necessarily have Bill Todd in your corner fighting your fights, then I think still what you could do is see what you're offering them. If you do some extra due diligence to understand that company, and you put together a prototype of what their exact solution could look like, and you go that extra mile to help them specifically understand that they have this specific problem and this is specifically how you could help them, and you're willing to be proactive and go the extra mile, that can open up doors too. So I think I think customers will pay attention to you for one of those reasons, and I think it could be a combination, but I think it's interesting to understand why the customer should pay attention, and I think that all comes down to empathy.